Welcome to Melanie's Mystery Numbers Reporting Facilities tutorial. A log record is maintained for each question that is completed by a student in the learning aid. There is also a record generated for each question for which time expired before completion. These are student timeouts. These records form the basis for generating reporting about student performance with Melanie's Mystery Numbers. Implementation of Melanie's Mystery Numbers is by school. Hence, the facilities are often shared by several teachers with possibly several classes each. Reporting is initiated from the teacher menu by clicking on Reporting. At the top of the reporting page is the capability to specify a given student or students to be included with the left side drop-down, and or specify given classes to be included with the right side drop-down. By clicking the Exclude button to the right of either drop-down, the specification is changed to exclude the records selected in the corresponding drop-down. Multiple classes may be included in the reports, but we will illustrate the more typical one-class case by selecting INS Test as our class from the right side drop-down list. The level specification on the left provides for selection of only those questions in a specified level, e.g. the 3-digit, for example. The default is all questions are going to be included, and we'll leave it at that. A class list may be generated, which consists of a list of students with all the classes in which they are included. And we'll simply select the Execute Report in order to generate that list. And as you can see, Wayne A. Montgomery is in 2 different classes, whereas George Billings down here is only in the 1. Several other report formats are available. For example, if we select the session report, then it's going to require that we put in a date or a range of dates. And what we're going to do is put in the today date to start it so that it's easier to just change it. And we'll put January 20th, 2013 to January 31st. 2013, and execute the report. And basically what this does is tell us the number of questions by student that were completed during this period and the percent that they answered correctly the first time. In the case of Brian Parker, it's 2 questions 100%, and Wayne Montgomery, he was correct 97% of the time after doing 32 questions. The growth report is an attempt by specifying an earlier date range, and we'll pick January 1st. (2013) to January 19th, which is just before the 20th. And we'll execute that report. And we'll see here that because they didn't do any questions during this period, they had 0%. But if they did, we would have been able to compare how they did during the earlier period how they did during the later period. And hopefully there would have been some improvement. That's the idea of the growth report. Now, student history report, again, we'll use the same range. And basically what it does is show you all the questions that were completed during that period by student. Now, an interesting factor here is that there's of course scrolling that's done on the screen here, and you can actually scroll and it goes underneath the heading, so the headings always stay there. Makes it easier to deal with. Now the other thing that should be noted is that if you take the level, which is a little offset here, you can sort on any column that has a link on the top. So we can sort on the level that will put them all in the order of level. So you go down and it changes as you go down. And starting of course from the lowest to the highest. But if you click it a second time, it flips it over from the highest to the lowest. The same goes for time elapsed. Again, this is the fastest that a question was answered, and clicking on it a second time shows us the longest period of time and downward for answering questions. You can look at them in that perspective. Now, the student best scores report, another interesting report. Basically, that gives you an indication of all the questions that relate to the actual best scores that were recorded. And in this case, they're all ranked as by rank at this point, the report, but you may want to do it by level so that you can see by level which students were ranked for each level of question. So that's for level 2. It goes down to, and then it starts again here at level 2D and goes to 8 and then starts again at 3D. So this gives you an indication of by question level who the students were that were doing the best and who performed most effectively in each category. Now if we take a look at the timeouts, what we'll do is we'll clear the date so that we can look at a broader period and execute that. And you can see there's only a couple where during testing we allowed it to run out. So, but this would likely be much larger, and it would also give you an indication of the questions that the students found most difficult when they ran out of time. Okay, now under teacher history, this gives us a list of all the questions that were generated during the period specified by teachers that were presumably being anticipating being used as examples in class or possibly for a test. And to generate a test, there again, we simply give ourselves the date that we're interested in, and we'll pick that date range, that is. We'll pick the January 20th, 2013 again, and to January 31st, just indicating that any time during that period where the teacher selected some questions, those would be the ones we want included or considered for this test. We then execute the report, and we get the questions in kind of a test format. And in here we can, if we wish, we can move questions around. For example, if we wanted question number 7 to be at the end, we could click on here, pick it as number 11, and then you'll note that it has been moved down to the 11th spot, and all the other questions were renumbered accordingly. If we wanted to delete a question, say number 8, we could delete that question. You notice that there are 11 questions now. We delete that question, and it drops it down to 10 questions. Now, if we want to print this, we can do a print preview of it, and you can see how it's listed, and at the end there's a answer key. And this question can then simply be, this report can be simply printed and used as a test in class. Now, if you wish as well, this test that we've modified here, or created, we can add it as a July 05 test, or maybe instead of that we can call it INS test, because this actually adds the date as well. So we can just call it INS test for this date, and it shows up over here, and it's saved then so that you can recall it later on. Like, for example, you can take and execute the report, and it'll bring back that test for you so that you can use it again. Okay, this concludes Melanie's mystery numbers reporting tutorial.